It was just another Tuesday morning on Live with Kelly and Mark at least. That's how it started. The set was glowing in its usual morning sunshine hue, mugs were steaming, the live audience was buzzing softly, and Kelly Ripa was in one of her delightfully unpredictable moods. She was mid-banter with husband and co-host Mark Consuelos when a small, seemingly harmless comment slipped from her lips. Except, of course, nothing is truly harmless when it comes to morning television. Sometimes, she began, leaning into her mug like she was about to reveal the secret to eternal youth. A bra is more trouble than it's worth. The studio laughed. Mark chuckled nervously. Producer Gelman raised an eyebrow from the sidelines. And at home, millions of viewers suddenly paused mid-coffee sip, leaning in closer to the TV as if she had just announced she was quitting to join a traveling circus. Kelly, never one to let a reaction go to waste, grinned and added, "Honestly, if it weren't for wardrobe requirements, I'd be giving the girls their permanent freedom." Cue the collective gasp. By lunchtime, social media was ablaze. Twitter threads spun out like wildfire. Did Kelly Ripa just say she doesn't like brass? Is this the feminist moment daytime TV needed? How dare she say that at 9:14 a.m.? Facebook comment sections became digital battlefields between those cheering her honesty and those clutching their pearls. Possibly in the same drawer where they kept their most conservative lingerie. Kelly, naturally, saw the headlines before she even had time to change into her post-show sweats. The backlash begins. The first wave of outrage came from a familiar source. Self-appointed morning show etiquette experts, most of whom had likely never set foot on a television set. They lamented that such intimate talk was unbecoming for a family program. Others took it a step further, spinning her bra remark into a supposed attack on professionalism. "Imagine if my daughter was watching and heard that," one viewer wrote online. Kelly, reading it later, muttered under her breath, "Then your daughter probably learned that clothes are optional in the privacy of your own home." Good for her. By the end of the day, the bragate discourse had snowballed into something absurd. Fashion blogs were analyzing her statement like it was a political manifesto. Morning talk radio hosts were debating whether Kelly's comment was empowering or inappropriate. One tabloid even posted a blurry photo of her walking her dog without visible bra lines, with the headline, "Kelly Ripa practices what she preaches." Kelly claps back the following morning. The tension in the studio was thicker than Kelly's mascara. She knew the producers were torn to address the drama and risk making it bigger, or pretend it never happened and hope the internet moved on to its next obsession. Kelly chose door number 3, burn the whole ridiculous narrative to the ground. As the theme music faded and the applause settled, she smiled directly into the camera. "Well," she began, her voice carrying the same tone she might use when about to scold Mark for leaving socks on the floor. "Apparently, America has a lot of feelings about my undergarments. Or lack thereof." The audience erupted in laughter. Mark smirked like he knew what was coming, but also like he was slightly afraid. "Let's clear this up," she continued, crossing one leg over the other with deliberate poise. "When I said brass are more trouble than they're worth sometimes, I wasn't declaring war on lingerie. I wasn't issuing a bra boycott. I wasn't staging a topless protest on 67th Street. I was just being honest about what women already know, that after a long day, the best part of coming home is unhooking that thing and tossing it across the room like a championship trophy." Mark interjected with a chuckle. "You do have quite the arm on you." Kelly ignored him. "If that sentiment shocks you," she said, looking straight into the camera lens, "then maybe you've never worn one. And in that case, I envy your blissful ignorance." The crowd roared. WHYIT hit a nerve. What made Kelly's comment resonator? In some cases, rankle was that it touched on something universally understood by women but still weirdly taboo to say out loud. The bra is one of those garments, loaded with cultural baggage, a symbol of femininity, modesty, even societal expectations. By casually admitting she found it uncomfortable, Kelly inadvertently opened a can of worms. For some, she was dismantling the delicate scaffolding of proper womanhood on live TV. For others, she was the hero who finally said what they'd been yelling at their mirrors for decades. Kelly's fiery follow-up, however, made it clear she wasn't about to back down. "Look," she said during the segment, "I've spent decades in front of cameras, under hot lights, in clothes that pinch, squeeze, and dig. I know what works for me. And sometimes that means going without. If that offends you, well, your remote has an off button." The statement was equal parts mic drop and public service announcement. Social media shifts after her on-air rebuttal. The tide began to turn. Instagram Reels featuring her remote has an off-button line started trending. TikTok creators stitched clips of her speech into videos of themselves gleefully tossing brass into laundry baskets. Hashtags like hashtag free the girls and hashtag Kelly said it spread faster than morning show coffee spills. One viral tweet read, "Kelly Ripa just gave me permission to live my truth, and my truth involves zero underwire." Another joked, "If Kelly Ripa runs for president on a Nobra platform, I'm in." Even a few lingerie brands jumped in, posting cheeky responses like, "We still love you, Kelly, but how about a comfy bra?" The personal history. What most people didn't realize was that Kelly's bra feelings had been brewing for years. In backstage conversations, she'd often joked with stylists about her escape plan after every taping: shoes off first, bra second, then a mad dash to her kitchen for snacks. Friends recall her once delivering an impromptu bra liberation speech at a dinner party after someone complained about strap marks. She stood up, grabbed a napkin like it was a protest flag, and started marching around the table. One pal remembered. It was hilarious, but also, she meant every word. So when she said it on air, it wasn't a calculated stunt, it was simply Kelly being Kelly, unfiltered, unapologetic, and willing to poke the bear if it meant being authentic. Mark's take, of course. Living with Kelly meant Mark had long accepted her views on undergarments. The truth is, he told a backstage reporter, "I knew she'd get heat for saying it, but I also knew she wouldn't care. She's been saying the same thing to me for years. Now she's just said it to a few million more people." Asked if he had any thoughts on the great bra debate, Mark grinned. "My only thought is, happy wife, happy life." The last word. By week's end, the uproar had mostly fizzled. The internet's attention span had shifted to a celebrity's awkward award show outfit, and the morning show audience seemed to appreciate Kelly's candor more than they were offended by it. Still, she decided to end the week with one final wink to the controversy. On Friday's episode, just before the commercial break, she leaned toward the camera and said, "And for those still wondering, no, I'm not wearing one today." The screen faded to an ad for laundry detergent, and Kelly sat back in her chair, a satisfied grin playing on her lips. In the end, Kelly Ripa's bra comments weren't just about a piece of clothing. They were about comfort, autonomy, and the radical idea that women don't owe anyone an explanation for what they wear or don't wear under their clothes. It was about the freedom to laugh at yourself, poke fun at social norms, and still show up the next day, ready to do your job with the same wit and charm as always. And if that means some mornings start with a national conversation about brass, well, Kelly's just fine with that.